Welcome back to Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. I'm Brad Bannon. My guest in this half hour is Tara Devlin, the hostess with the mostest of the TARABUSTER
Thank you.
podcast. We have another number of subjects to discuss in this half hour. The first one we're going to discuss is the messy divorce between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And to start the half hour, we have this clip from Ryan Mack of the New York Times talking about the ugly split.
I've covered Elon Musk for the better part of a decade, and while I've seen his falling outs, I've never seen anything quite like this.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore.
So last week, Elon Musk left government. It was the end of his tenure as a special government employee. He got this nice press conference with Donald Trump in the Oval Office.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
Oh, God.
Thank you. But behind the scenes, it didn't seem that everything was going well. Over the weekend, President Trump removed the nomination of a key Musk ally from the head of NASA. And throughout this week, Elon Musk has been posting about this supposed big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump has been trying to push through Congress. And he's expressed his worry about this bill adding to the federal deficit and increasing the federal debt. And on Thursday,
He became a little bit different.
Donald Trump addressed that kind of rhetoric.
He knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody.
Which caused Elon Musk to explode online. Musk unloaded his full clip on Donald Trump, accusing him of being associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
Which he was.
He talked about how Trump's tariffs were going to be bad for the economy and lead us to recession. I don't think we've ever seen someone at this level fall out with Donald Trump. You know, in some ways, Elon Musk is his equal, someone who is incredibly wealthy and someone who has taken credit for a lot of Trump's wins. Both men are known for exploding on their associates. And I think that's what was in the back of all our minds as reporters. Could this friendship last beyond what we typically know a Donald Trump or an Elon Musk relationship to be?
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Now we are seeing threats to Elon Musk's government contracts with SpaceX. There are also government incentives for Tesla that are already being eliminated in this bill. You know, we've seen also Donald Trump use his regulatory agencies to go after his perceived enemies. On the other hand, there are risks for Trump. Musk has 220 million followers, and he can drive conversations with that account in any which direction. He's talking about forming a new political party. He's threatened to go after lawmakers that support this bill. He's also replied in the affirmative to a tweet that suggested that Donald Trump should be impeached. It's hard to predict what will come next with Elon Musk. I think what you can say, though, is he will share it very openly on his X account. He is just firing from the hip.
Okay.
That was Ryan Mack from the New York Times discussing the big ugly breakup between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Our guest in this half hour, as our viewers can see, is Tara Devlin, host of the TARABUSTER podcast. Now, Tara, I've had some ugly breakups in my past, like most people, but this one has reached stratospheric or maybe very low proportions. What's your take on the big divorce?
Well, I wrote an article about this on the Political Voices Network Substack, and I appreciate what, the clip you played, and what he had to say. But, Ryan Mack, nowhere in there did I hear any concern about Elon Musk being the third branch of government, basically. When did this happen? No one is pointing out, none of the crack White House press corps, as they chase Mike Johnson around saying, have you spoken to Elon? I got Elon on the phone. We were texting Elon. I was texting my good friend yesterday. Who effing cares? Okay, this really is pissing me off. Who cares? He is not an elected official. He is a citizen, not even a natural born one, if you want to get technical. And
to be technical, he violated his visa provisions
Absolutely.
when he first came here from
Yes,
South
he did.
Africa.
Yes,
Not that
he did.
anybody's going to deport him anytime
Yes.
soon.
And
Or maybe Trump will.
maybe he will. If
Yeah.
it keeps going, I hope he does, because Yeah, and it exposes everything. It exposes the rot in this government that I mean, they don't even care about their constituents. It's not even a factor. None of them. It's like right out in the open now that yeah, the constituents, who cares? You see the way, for example, what's her name? Joni Ernst treats her constituents when they say
We're all
people are
gonna
going,
die
yeah,
anyway.
we're going to die. And then she doubles down with this non-apology apology where she mocks the woman who expressed the concern that people are going to die. Oh, you do that to Elon Musk, right? Let me see you do that to Elon Musk, Republicans, but they would never, because they don't work for their constituents. They have nothing but derision for their constituents, and they have nothing but sycophancy for Elon Musk and these unelected billionaire parasites who are he is the poster child for the fact that billionaires are anathema to freedom and democracy. And I'm really sick of no one pointing this out in the corporate media. I mean, the corporate media is really why we're here now in this boat, having to contend with this. And it was only a matter of time. This has been going on for years and years, like building up, having a country of by and for the 1%. Every time the Supreme Court gets a campaign finance law in front of them, they weaken campaign finance laws. Here we are, it's really the cause of, I believe two things are why we're in this boat in general: money in politics and the corporate media.
Well, let me mention one thing, interrupt you briefly.
Yeah, sure.
Just for the record, last year, Elon Musk alone uh, contribute basically bought Donald Trump
Yep.
a quarter of a billion, that's $250
Yeah.
million worth of television ads. And if you look at his Musk total spending on behalf of Republican candidates, including Trump, that figure comes close to a billion.
Yeah.
So that makes your point
It's
there.
disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. What can we as a citizen contribute? I think, what is it? I'm looking it up. $7,000 per candidate per cycle. And
That's for a couple. It's I think 3,500
oh, okay,
individually,
35, right, for just a
or
lone signal.
37, something like that.
Yeah, it says 35 for general election and blah 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 blah. But so I mean, these are all loopholes and dark money pack groups and whatnot that the Supreme Court inflicted on this country, and no one's just pointing out. This is what drives me nuts about the corporate media too, because they do suck. And that's why I thank you for what you do. Really, that's why I do what I
You're
do,
welcome.
because this
That's
is
why I
what.
get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, right. Me too. I mean, it's really David up against Goliath getting the truth out. And that's why nobody trusts the corporate media anymore. But they don't point out. They would talk about this is another thing that drives me nuts. They'll go on about the donor class. What does the donor class think of this? As if the founders fought a revolution to overthrow an aristocracy and an intergenerational monarchy to create a country of, by, and for the donor class. That is absolutely bullshit. And the founders wrote, Thomas Jefferson wrote about,
Uh-oh.
what the heck is that? Yeah. What is that? Oh my God, it scared me. I thought the angels, I know, but it scared me. I thought the angels would come in. My grandma was going to take me into the light or something, Not yet. I want to see Trump in jail and Elon Musk deported first. Please,
Okay.
please.
Uh, yeah, and
It's true.
the reality is, I think, some elements of the corporate media, and CBS would be one of them.
Right.
They're trying to tone down the 60-minute
It's
broadcast criticizing Trump because they're afraid
Yep.
that Trump is going to enact regulatory restrictions against the network, prevent
Yep.
their merger or sale. I don't
Yeah,
understand. I don't
that's
read
it.
the Wall Street Journal, but
It's unreal.
uh, yeah, it's
And
pretty ugly.
yes, and that's why and this is why what's most shocking about this time is that they all these powerful outlets and agencies and institutions have so uh, fast, they've so easily bent the knee to this baboon. And all they had to do was stick together. Every single network, every single university, all I see is Harvard standing up. The other ones are
Not the
apparently
only one.
right. I mean, they had to, everybody just stick together and say, F you, F you. Look, we're in this together and we will get through this
Tara, we're going to
together.
have to take a break here to let our radio
No breaks
listeners
in
out for a
fascism.
very, very brief vacation. We'll be back with more of Tara Devlin as I attempt to get her to come out of her shell for the rest of the broadcast.
Yes. Don't worry, you'll
Anyway,
coax it out of me.
This is Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. My guest is Tara Devlin, hostess with the mostest of the TARABUSTER podcast. We'll be back very quickly. Welcome back to Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. Our guest in this half hour is Tara Devlin, host of the TARABUSTER podcast. We've been talking about Trump's corporate intimidation.
Mhm.
We've been talking about the ugly Trump-Musk divorce. And let me ask you this one last question about Trump and Musk, because we talked about it before we went on the air. Do you think this breakup will be permanent, or
What?
one of them will break down and call the other trying to apologize?
Well, I think that they are both transactional parasites, so they will yeah, if there's a benefit to it. So what I fear is that it's like with him and Kim Jong Un. Eventually they'll be writing love letters to each other. What will happen, there's probably all this crap going on behind the scenes where they're trying to they'll make a big show of getting Elon on board, and then they will pass this big ugly monstrosity that is going to be really kneecap the country in so many ways. So yeah, I don't that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid it's a big I don't think that this happens as a show, but because they're not that smart and they're easily played. But I think that they are transactional and they're parasites, so that all that matters to them is money, and it will be for their benefit. He needs money. Trump wants the money, and so does the biggest parasite in the country, Elon Musk. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Musk and I agree on one thing. It must be one thing I agree on with
Yeah.
everybody on the planet is this budget bill is a disgraceful abomination, as
Yes.
Musk called it.
Right.
He doesn't like it because there aren't enough cuts in there.
That's it.
I dislike it because it's really cutting the social safety net for poor people and kids into shreds,
It's a horror.
and it's almost like a fait accompli now, and no one
Mm-hmm.
seems to care that we're gonna, 8 million Americans will lose their health care, a
Yep.
couple of million kids will lose,
Oh, they don't care.
school lunches,
Yeah.
and yeah, it
Hospitals are
just
going to
doesn't.
close, I mean, a lot of it's going to affect the red states. That's the thing that these freaks who vote for their own demise never seem to get. But maybe they'll wake up. I don't know. What the Democrats really need to start messaging is that every time they say red state, they need to add the qualifier poorly run red state. That's it. Just say poorly run red state, because it is the truth. The only thing they do for their constituents is pass divisive bathroom bills, which not only I think that would add to the poverty of morality, spirituality, unity. They destroy their constituents and the places they pretend to represent on so many levels. It's not even funny. And all of the Republican, I mean, they are the top of all the negative measures. They have outrageous poverty rates, healthy lives, like all the indicators for a successful state. They're taker states. They don't even have the
Tara, I'm going
manners.
to have to interrupt you again because we're going
No,
to have
I'm
to
just
take
kidding.
a quick break to bring back our radio listeners. This is Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. My guest in this half hour is Tara Devlin, host of the Blockbuster, TARABUSTER
Aw.
podcast. Well, we'll be back right away. Welcome back to Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. Our guest in this half hour is Tara Devlin, the host of the Blockbuster TARABUSTER
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you.
There's something else I'd like to talk to you about, Tara, before our time runs out. Uh, Periodically, I have grave doubts about the future of democracy.
Mm.
And yesterday was one of those days.
Yeah.
On the West Coast, we have federal forces fighting in the streets with immigration advocates in Los Angeles. On the East Coast in Washington, I showed footage, which we showed at the top of the hour, of federal tanks
Oh,
arriving in Washington, D.C. for the president to celebrate the
oh God.
president's big birthday bash.
Oh,
And I thought to myself, here you have fighting in the streets between federal forces and, protesters. And on the East Coast, we're rolling hundreds of tanks into Washington, D.C. And I thought, what's wrong with this picture? Is this a clear sign of the decay of democracy or what?
well, yeah, it is. And I mean, Trump is the biggest draft dodging, whiny little baby titty baby on the planet. And it really offends me. I'm somebody who actually did serve this country in uniform. That baboon, that draft dodging, tax cheating, wannabe dictator baboon who hates this country. I mean, they really do. I'll give you the receipts. They hate the nation of immigrants. They hate the nation of laws. They hate e pluribus unum. They hate the fact that the founders are students of the liberal age of enlightenment and
And they're trying to
overthrew.
get rid of the immigrants and the laws in one
Yes,
fell swoop.
that's it. They never miss an opportunity to divide people, and they're the weakest little babies going. That's why they perform the strength, and they don't realize, they're just a bunch of cowards. They look like morons. Everything is performative with them. Like what with Pete Hegseth removing the names of off of boats,
Oh, Harvey Milk,
yeah, of Harvey Milk and
Harriet
others,
Tubman.
yeah, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. I wrote another article about it. It's because it's like like a closet case, like one of these Republican closet cases who's always voting against other gay people who are out of the closet. I mean, and railing against gays. It's the same thing. An actual courage, true courage, is very upsetting to them. So anytime Pete Hegseth or maggots try to erase the names, it's because it's a reminder of what cowards they truly are. They can't stand up to this tax cheating, draft dodging con man, this lifelong serial bankrupt con man. I mean, that's not strength. That's not masculinity. You are pathetic, and history will remember them that way. They know that. Unlike Harvey Milk, they could erase his name off of a boat. Go right ahead. But you will never erase the history, and he will be remembered. Not like Pete Hegseth, he will be reviled in history. Mark my words. That's the truth. That's what they're doing. History's not on their side. Pete Hegseth is the slave catcher who hunted people like Harriet Tubman. I mean, in every transplant him into any place in history. He's the slave catcher. He's the McCarthyite. He's the Jim Crow poll watcher, right? So that's what we're up against. But they will not win eventually. And I do,
Well, let me ask you about that. Are you sure of that, Tara?
well, yes. I'm not really. I hope it happens in my lifetime. When I'm in my darkest moments, I feel we're doomed. but I mean, it's really a problem. The propaganda is the problem to me, because these maggots, they're not coming up with these ideas on their own. They're getting systemically propagandized, like in any other country that fell to authoritarianism. So that's what really concerns me a lot. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that America will, but yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth. As you can see, I'm going back and forth right now. But I know that it is true that eventually, I mean, really, trust me, history will not elevate these people. History is going to revile them. There's no doubt in my mind there, because they're not on the right side of history. So yeah, and then I mean, the history. I mean, there's nothing more courageous than standing up to, or challenging America to be better, right? And what do these maggots do? They cling to hate and division. So there's nothing, that's not something that really resonates with the majority of people. So I don't know. I mean, I think about the fall of ancient Rome, because I love history, and I think about that. That's a nation that fell to authoritarianism after 500 years of a republic, where each Roman took an oath that no king shall rule Rome. It was in their history, it was in their DNA, and it still fell to to similar things,
Well,
because
I mean,
yeah.
you're right. I mean, essentially, what happened in Rome, they had a republic for several hundred years
Mm-hmm.
that was eventually taken over and run by emperors before
Yeah.
the empire collapsed.
Right.
And are we heading in the same direction?
Well, I don't know. That's why I go back and forth, but we are heading in that direction. But there has to be. See, this is the problem. We could have really, nipped this in the bud last time when the baboon was voted out. But of course, you cannot be kind to fascists, to people who try to overthrow the government. Then we had, people like Merrick the Meek, who wouldn't prosecute him. And it comes out later, he's dragging his feet because he didn't want to prosecute the president, you know. And when we all saw that freak send his mob to try to stop the peaceful transfer of power that was good enough for George Washington, but not for him, not for that baboon. I'm sorry, no offense to baboons. I'm sure they're very nice, and they would
Repeat it
never,
friendly here. Let
yes,
that line be seized.
and and they wouldn't vote for the stupidest baboon to lead them, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, as just thinking of him here's the other thing with he loves giving salutes. That really drives me nuts. And at his parade, they're gonna, I'm sure he's gonna stand there saluting. He could have saluted all he wanted when his country called, though. His feeties hurt. But the other thing is, you're not. I mean, he's a civilian. That's the point. This is another thing that really concerns me, and how Rome fell too, because over time, it took time for the crossing of the lines to blur, right? And so you had to be a certain age to hold a position or be a consul. That ended. They would bend the rules. You could only be, dictator for 1 year. That
Yep,
ended, right? And
yep.
so so that's what we see here with Mitch McConnell, when they bend the rules and no one does anything. And every time they go after the Department of Education, the media, all these are the pillars of democracy, and that's how the Democrats need to
Well, let me
message
ask you
it.
this question. Are the pillars of democracy strong enough to withstand what Trump is doing? I mean,
Yeah,
there was a republic in Rome, but the pillars of
right,
democracy weren't very strong. So the
right.
question is, are the pillars in a contemporary United States strong enough to withstand
I
slipping
mean,
into an empire?
right. They not if people like Merrick the Meek are letting things
Merrick
slide.
Garland, the former
Yeah.
attorney general you're referring to.
Yes, I'm sorry. I call him Merrick the Meek because, people are like, well, what was he going to do? They go back and forth. I'm not a legal scholar, but I do think he should have prosecuted on January 7th. The baboon should have been in handcuffs. But okay, but it's like, oh, he's the former president. Who cares?
Well, the prosecutor, Jack Smith, thought the same thing.
Yeah, and that's what should have happened. Imagine, then who cares if the maggots go nuts? Well, don't try to overthrow the government. We could have been on the other side of this by now, but it's
Yeah,
all the
it's interesting.
trepidation.
There wasn't any Trump resistance to what happened at the Capitol
That's
on
right.
January 6th, but there's protest in Los Angeles, and he nationalizes the California National
Well,
Guard to put them down.
he's doing it to create the problem, just like everybody's saying. That's what he's doing. But if you go on Twitter, that's how we know we're up against a propaganda machine. Los Angeles is burnt to the ground by now. Did you
Tara,
see? Yeah.
unfortunately, we're out of time. Thanks for
Thank
joining us
you.
on the show. It's a pleasure to have you as always. I want to thank both my guests, Tara Devlin, host of the Blockbuster TARABUSTER podcast, and Cedric Layton, CNN military analyst. Stay strong and stand tall in these troubled and turbulent times. We'll be back next week with the founder of the Cook Political Report, Charlie Cook, and the publisher of Dem Daily, Kimberly Scott. Miss that show and any of our shows at your own peril. We'll be back next week.
It's true. It's true.